about almost 2,000 delegates from across Ontario, municipal delegates, and most of cabinet. So we're expecting a busy few days. I'm going to start things off this morning with AMO's president, Robin Jones, who's the mayor of the town of Westport.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, bon matin, Anin. I'd like to start by recognizing that our work and the work of AMO and Roma members takes place on traditional Indigenous territories across Ontario. We recognize and respect the history, language, and cultures of the First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples whose presence continues to enrich our communities. So while the next provincial election isn't scheduled until June 2026, I think we're all hearing whispering that it might come early. And AMO's not waiting for these whispers to become a reality. Tomorrow morning, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario will be launching a province-wide advertising campaign to make sure that voters know what municipalities need to improve affordability in order to deliver the quality of life that we all expect, and that all political parties know what commitments are needed to appeal to people who live, work, and invest in Ontario. Now, this campaign is nonpartisan. It will talk directly to voters, provincial parties, and provincial candidates about the importance of putting quality of life at the center of the next provincial election. It will focus on 3 areas that will improve quality of life and community well-being. They are investing in local infrastructure to build more homes, tackling the growing homelessness crisis, and ensuring that property tax dollars, go towards core municipal services instead of subsidizing underfunded provincial programs. This campaign is unprecedented for AMO, and it's critical that Ontario voters understand why quality of life in our communities is at risk and what they need to demand of local candidates in a potential provincial election.
Our next speaker is Krista Lowry. Krista is the mayor of Mississippi Mills and the chair of the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, ROMA.
Good morning, and thank you for your words, Robin. As the chair of the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, I'd like to thank you all for being here today and for joining us at this year's ROMA conference. Conferences like those held by ROMA and AMO are important opportunities for local leaders and provincial leaders to be accountable. With this campaign, AMO wants to hold all provincial parties and candidates accountable for keeping our communities safe, prosperous, and affordable. Challenges that were once primarily felt by urban centers are now impacting rural communities. As the recent AMO homelessness report outlined, homelessness is growing 3 times faster in rural communities, but we don't have sufficient local supports and services in place to respond. Rural communities have significant infrastructure needs, but rural communities are often left out of infrastructure grant programs, and our ability to raise more revenue through property taxes is limited. We're increasingly using municipal property tax dollars to manage provincial challenges, like incentives to bring health workers to our local communities. I'm pleased to stand here today as the chair of ROMA to support this campaign and the critical need for a new provincial municipal fiscal framework to support the quality of life in communities across Ontario.
Our final speaker is Brian Rossborough. Brian is the executive director of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, or AMO.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. As Robin and Krista said, this is a campaign that will appeal to all political parties and to all Ontario voters. AMO is a nonpartisan organization, and this will be a nonpartisan campaign about the need for provincial action to support the quality of life in Ontario. The challenges facing municipalities across Ontario result from decades of provincial policy decisions. This is not about one government, it's not about one party. While no election has been called, AMO will be registering as a third-party advertiser when the writ of the election is issued, and we will be adhering to all of the requirements of the Provincial Elections Act. While municipalities are united in the need for a new provincial municipal fiscal relationship to tackle the challenge that are impacting the quality of life in communities across Ontario. Clear commitments from each of the provincial parties in these areas will be an important step forward toward this goal.
All right, we'll take any questions that you've got. You can go unmute yourself, raise a hand, or pose a question in the chat section. We'll just see if there's any questions online.
We've got Alan Hale. Alan, can you introduce yourself?
All right, sorry. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, hopefully. Can everybody hear me? Hello?
Hello, sorry. Folks weren't hearing you, so I'm going to have to speak the question for you.
Okay.
So what's your question for folks?
Okay. Could you ask them what mediums are we doing these advertising in? Is it going to be online or on TV and newspapers? Like, what's the plan?
Sure, 100%. So Alan's wondering where the campaign is going to run. So what kind of media it's going to be running in.
Thank you for the question, Alan. So we're going to begin this week with full-page ads in the major papers and in regional newspapers as well. And that will be followed up with social media and digital media campaigns over the next few weeks. And then once the writ is issued, we'll be resuming those full-page ads again and again following up with digital media. So it will be ongoing until the election is complete.
Okay. Can you ask, they said that this is an
I
unprecedented.
should add for Alan that we also have Village Media. There'll be some ads as well.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Can you ask them? They said it was an unprecedented campaign. What exactly is unprecedented? And if this is the first time they've done something like this, why do it now?
So it's why is this unprecedented? And if it is, why now?
AMO is engaged in government relations 365 days a year. We watch very closely what's happening politically, but this is unprecedented in as much as we are engaging in paid media activity directly in relation to the election. And it is simply the case that Ontario's communities, large and small in every part of Ontario, are managing with a system that is no longer working, no longer addressing the infrastructure needed to build houses. We've got 80,000 people in Ontario who have been made homeless as a result of provincial policies. And we have a fiscal system where municipalities are no longer in a position to run the services that people need. And that is resulting in significant property tax hikes. And so it's the time now, if there's an election, we need to be fully engaged in that on behalf of our members in every part of Ontario to make sure that what is good for communities has an impact on the way parties create their mandates and the way voters behave in the next election.
Alan, anything else?
Yeah. Oh, well,
I'm just going to add to it, Farah.
Okay.
And so thank you, Brian. That was a great answer to Alan's question. I would just like to segue just slightly, Alan, and talk about the work that AMO and their partners have done in relation to the report that was released last week. So your question was, why now? We believe at AMO that when you're going to push forward and say that it's a tipping point, say that it's unprecedented, say that it's a crisis, you need to be able to back it up. And one of the important takeaways from that report is the data is absolutely rock solid. So why now? We know that we've got, as Brian has already said, at least 80,000 people homeless in the province, at least 14,000 encampments. And so the why now is we're not going to quibble about the size of the encampments or the number of homeless, but it's time to roll up our sleeves. So we want all parties to know, all candidates to know that this is not going to go away. We need to be moving now, and we are hoping that everybody takes it to heart and includes it in their campaigns.
Do they think that financial arrangements for municipalities is going to resonate with average Ontarians? Do you think people care? Farah, are you there?
Hey, Alan, sorry. I just want you to say that question one more time so I can say
Okay,
it properly.
So they're going to use these advertisements to talk about like the need for a new financial arrangement for municipalities.
Yeah.
Do they think that most Ontarians care about that? That that's going to be something that's going to resonate with people or affect their vote?
Okay. So he's wondering if the idea of a new financial arrangement for municipalities is something that it's going to resonate with voters, that people will care about that in terms of an election issue.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alan. I'm sure Brian's going to add something, but I'd like to begin with, they may not understand the relationship between the municipalities and the province, but part of the information that we are sharing in this campaign is the amount of money of property taxes going to pay for provincial programs that in every other province in Canada are provincial responsibilities. So, we talk about $5 billion in municipal property tax going to fund or going to provincial programs which are underfunded. So they may not understand, Alan, good question, they may not understand what does that arrangement mean, but what we're striving for is for municipalities to pay for what we're responsible for, and the province to take back the $5 billion that we have been paying out of your property taxes and include that in the province's budget. Brian.
We've included this as an important part of our election advertising campaign because in Ontario, we have a unique situation in which municipalities subsidize the provincial treasury instead of the other way around. In every other part of the country, provinces and territories support their municipalities financially. Here, municipalities subsidize the provincial treasury to the tune of $5 billion a year. That's $5 billion. That's not going into community safety. It's not going into housing development. It's not going into the municipal priorities and the voter priorities, frankly, that people really want to see moving forward in their community. People are concerned about what they perceive to be as a declining quality of life. If the province was not removing $5 billion a year from Ontario's municipal budgets, municipalities would be in a much better position to deal with those services that people rely on.
Okay. Did you have any follow-up?
So I guess my last question is why not be more direct in the criticisms of the PCs then? Like a lot of these issues are happening under their watch. They're the ones resisting having a new financial arrangement. They're the ones taking the money out of the budget. They're the ones who are not stepping up for homelessness. Why not just be more upfront and say and have critical ads of the PCs? Why be
Sure.
Yeah.
So he is asking why not be more direct with the PCs, since they are the current provincial government who are declining to have a new review, who are, all of these issues. Alan, forgive me for not going through all of it, but I think I got the gist of your question. Is that fair? Like, why
That's
not
good.
be more, more
Why not be
pointed?
more directed and pointed about them? Yeah.
AMO is a nonpartisan organization, and our engagement in the provincial election needs to be fully expressed in that nonpartisan way. It doesn't mean that we don't continue to have conversations with the Government of Ontario. And in fact, these messages are very, very much aligned with what our 2025 pre-budget submission will say directly to legislators
Okay.
in terms of what needs to be in the 2025 budget with or without a provincial election.
Ellen, anything else?
I think I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for attending.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for getting me the link so quickly.
No
It's
worries.
Short notice.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
folks. That concludes the questions we've got, and we're here till Tuesday. So if there's any interest that you have in the conference or anything we can provide for you, we'll do our best to get it to you. Thanks.
Sick. All right. Have a good
Thanks,
day.
everyone. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Are we on? Well done, team.
I was ready to jump in on that last one, but they had running ahead. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. It's fine.
I
I think